Hear from the families first. Just a reminder to the families, before you speak, make sure the microphones are in front of you, otherwise the news crew will not be able to pick it up. So Paige is going to kindly move it around, but I see it's in front of Cami already, if she wanted to. Okay.
I'm just going to look around generally, because I don't know where I'm looking right now. I don't even know where I would start. I will say that the last couple of months have been probably the hardest months that I've ever had to go through in my life, and I wouldn't wish this upon anyone or any family to ever have to go through these kinds of atrocities and have to sit through these kinds of horrors and gruesome realities. I will say that from the very beginning, we always had one goal in mind, and that was to always search the landfill for my mom's remains, as well as bring her justice. And it's really hard being put in that tough spot when you grow up in the system as a child in care, while my mom was on the streets. You know, our family has been repeatedly failed over and over again throughout these systems, like my mom, who grew up within that system and was failed from the very beginning. She spent her life fighting. I spent my life fighting. And so it's hard to put trust into a system when this very same system essentially claimed your mom's life as well as a serial killer. And it's those kinds of injustices along the way and those judicial gaps that failed her. And that's been really, really frustrating for me to try to wrap my head around the last couple of months. But not only that, it's the sheer normalization of what's happening right now, and that people seem to think that this is something normal in society that's supposed to happen or is normal to happen when it's absolutely not. People are too emotionally numb nowadays, and I think that's a sad statement. And I think that's an even sadder reality to have to face every day on the other side of the spectrum in that courtroom. And I wouldn't wish anyone to ever sit in these shoes. Over and over again, we've sat here at these conferences, we've put our feelings and our emotions out there, you know, we grieved in front of the world essentially when we didn't have to, but we did it because we wanted to see justice, and not only justice for my mom, but justice for these three other women, Morgan, Mercedes, Rebecca, and Buffalo woman, who still remains unidentified to this day. And so I want to draw attention to that too, that there's an Indigenous woman right now who still lives without an identity. And the only thing that can identify her is a baby fat jacket. And that's sad. That's really, really sad. And so I want to draw attention to that she needs to be found. And I also want to draw attention to search the landfills and the fight that we've been putting on. We put this fight on pause to attend this trial, essentially. And now that we're waiting for the final verdict, we're ready to start pushing the wheels to get moving. I will say, if I can announce about tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, Friday, we got a call from the government essentially, and WAP Canoe invited us for a meeting tomorrow to sit down for lunch and ceremony as well. I remember before trial he said that after all this was done, we would be meeting again to essentially discuss the next steps. And so I can only hope that this is one step closer to bringing my mom home. And so I'm keeping my hopes up for that. But I just want to say thank you to all of our supporters who have stood with us along the way when they didn't have to. It's hard to sit in those rooms, in that courtroom alone with the man who took your life and not being able to do anything about it, as well as sit with that kind of disgusting racial thoughts that he was pushing out there. I don't know what else I can comment on that, because honestly, it doesn't even deserve attention. I feel like the media has been highlighting the wrong portions of this, and we're giving a serial killer essentially a spotlight where you see now that he's thriving off of the atrocities that he committed in prison through letters. That's what happened here. And so I ask you guys to bring that focus back on these 3 Indigenous women, those 4 Indigenous women, and 2 who are currently lying in a landfill. Thank you. Miigwech.
We have Melissa Robinson next.
Good day, everyone. I will say this, over the last 6 weeks, today has been probably the most satisfying, because we know as a family that we are going to get justice and he is going to get convicted on all four. There is no grounds for an NCR. He has nothing to reach for anymore. And, when we spoke with the Crowns this afternoon, I stated to them that, the judge needs to do the right thing and convict him on 4 counts of first-degree murder to show this country that it stops here, that our women are not garbage, they will not be thrown in landfills, and we will not tolerate it anymore. So it stops with our family, and we're not allowing it anymore. Gosh. That's all I need to say. Ooh. You want to say anything? I don't know.
This is Elle Harris.
I just want to quickly add that even though court may be over and the search will be happening even after the search, we are not disappearing. We're still going to stand our ground. We're still going to fight for our women. You're still going to see our faces everywhere. We're not disappearing, Wob. We're not disappearing anyone. We're here to stay, and we're here to fight for our women, and we're going to bring everyone back home. We're going to find everyone's names, everyone's identities, not just Buffalo women, and not just bringing only our loved ones home, but everyone else's loved ones, because they deserve it as much as we do. Miigwech.
Good stuff, Al. No.
We're going to go over to the Contois family next.
Just knocking everything around.
So this is Stephanie and Alana, but we have Travis here, their support. Travis Barzy.
Danse Anibuju, Hehakan Naji Natisikasan. My traditional name is Standing Elk. I also go by Travis Barzy. I'm honored that I've been asked to speak on behalf of the Contois family, and I think the message we want to share is that this has been a really long journey that filled with lots of grief, lots of pain, and just after today and after the verdict is reached, it doesn't stop there. There's still going to be lots of healing and lots of grief that the families need to work through. And so as the media dies down, just remember, everybody, that these are families, these are people that are hurting, that have loved ones that have been taken, and it's not just something that we live only in a matter of weeks or a matter of months. This will be forever. And I want to say that I'm humbled in so many ways to see these families, the Contois family, the Harris family, and the Myron family, display such strength and resiliency in a time where most of us, myself included, probably could not handle that. And so I want to show my appreciation and gratitude to them for all the work that they do. And I do share the sentiment that we will make sure that these landfills are searched, and echo what we've been saying for so many times, that these are not final resting area for people. And this is an obligation, not a recommendation, to have this landfill searched and all landfills searched. No more excuses. The time is now. Miigwech.
Thank you so much, Travis. Okay. Sorry, Cambria has one more small comment she wants to say before we pass it over to our leadership. Thank you, Paige. Thanks, Paige.
Good. I just wanted to add on to Travis's comment there, because it was really well spoken. We spoke to the Crown Attorney after everything was done today. And I said to him, you know, it's been really hard to trust in the system growing up and stuff, but being in this situation, we have to in order to seek my mom's justice. And I said to him, back last July when Heather Stephenson made that decision not to initially search the landfill, yes, she set a precedent, not only for if the future and if a body ended up in a landfill, but she also set a precedent for how Indigenous women were treated in not only society, but the judicial system, any other system, etc. And so I personally thanked him and I said, you know, you took one small step to taking that precedent back for our Indigenous women. And as opposed to treating us like a statistic as the government does, you treated them as human beings in that room and you spoke their name when the defense wouldn't even utter their name. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Cambria. Paige, could you move it over to Grand Chief? So we're just going to hear from our Grand Chiefs. We also have another chief here, Fontaine, and then we'll do questions in case anyone's wondering.
Agusani, kagana kita tamiskat na wow, mina isadanas kumuan, epese huitseoyak, kitsegagon, animotamak. So, I'm Grand Chief Kathy Merrick for the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs. I represent 62 First Nations out of 63 nations here in Manitoba. And I'm here today with family members to address today's conclusions on the trial of a serial killer of our 4 Indigenous women. I'd like to thank Elder Grandma Shingus for opening us in a good way, and that we be able to speak in a good way, and that we be able to speak about our families that have been through a lot, the Harris family, the Myron family, and the Contois family. And I really appreciate all the families being here today and to be able to be represented and to be able to speak. And that I would like to also acknowledge Grand Chief Garrison Satif from MKO, as well as Chief Fontaine from Saugeen for being here to support the families and for being here to ensure that whatever we relay to you is meant in truth. And so it's been tremendously difficult from the get-go in terms of the emotional journey for the family members and for Buffalo woman that we to this day still don't know who she is. And that's so disheartening. It breaks our hearts that we're not able to identify a woman that has been missing for a very long time. But not to say that there's not a lot of our women that are still out there that are still missing. And so I'd like to thank the community at large for the support that they have given the families from the get-go, and the good messages that were given and the prayers that were given, that they'll be able to stand strong against a system that was never built, that was never meant for First Nation people. A justice system as well that was never meant for our people. So I acknowledge and commend the strength of each and every family member that have been through, that have sat in a courtroom day in and day out, and listening to the gut-wrenching details of what happened to their loved ones. And for somebody to sit there and not even blink an eye as to what they have done to our women. As we reflect on the conclusion of the trial and the impending verdict, it is important to remember that the pursuit of justice does not end in that courtroom. That's not where it ends. The conclusion of this trial is just one chapter in a much larger story of our missing and murdered Indigenous women and two-spirited people. A crisis that's been happening in this province of Manitoba, for years. And we are here today because we have brought the issue and the attention to our missing and murdered Indigenous women. And we didn't give up. We prayed hard that we be given that strength to come and to bring justice for our missing and murdered Indigenous women. And I think to a point that our prayers were answered. But we must continue to advocate for the justice on behalf of the victims and their families, on behalf of our nations, and on behalf of the province where we all live together as relatives. And we need to push change for the investigations that are conducted when our First Nations women go missing. That has to change in this province. We should not have to go to media for them to tell our story. But today I thank you for that, for doing that for us. Because that was the only way that society would hear our story. That was the only way that we were able to relay that messaging of our missing and murdered women in this province that ended up in landfills. It was a humanitarian search from the hearts of loved ones. And we did that. And we thank all the people that stood with us to be able to do that. And it's through the family's perseverance that monies have been set aside for search and recovery efforts for these women. When we brought the attention to the federal government and the provincial government, that they be able to set aside some money to help the families search for their loved ones and to bring that awareness here. Because a garbage dump is not a grave site. A garbage dump is a garbage dump, and our women do not belong there, and they never belong there, because our women deserve better. So the resilience and determination of these families are inspirational, not just here in Winnipeg, not just here in Manitoba, but across Turtle Island. We have set precedents that our women have to be searched for whenever they go missing. We cannot rely on any police service to do that for us. If that would have happened in the get-go when we first started, we would not have been here. Just recently in Saskatchewan, there was a big announcement of a search. But we continue to provide that support and resources to the ones that have been affected by the actions of the self-admitted serial killer, and work towards rebuilding trust and healing in our communities. So I offer my thoughts and my prayers for the legal outcome that will bring some peace to the families. And I hope and I pray it's a good outcome, because I don't want any more families to go through what these families went through. verdicts don't bring back loved ones. And they don't bring back system changes to prevent this from happening again in the future. It is up to us as First Nations people to continue to demand how governments and law enforcement should respond and address the genocidal crisis that we are in here today. So I call out the governments, the provincial and the federal government, that they come and they do what they have promised to do for these families, and that is to search the landfills. So hopefully that they be able to bring rest to our loved ones, and that they be able to bring our loved ones home, as we always wanted from the beginning. So kinanas komit na wow isinto tawiya kusane.
Thank you so much, Grand Chief. So we're going to actually hear from Chief Fontaine, and then we're going to move it over to our other Grand Chief, Garrison Settee. So Chief Fontaine from Seguin.
Good afternoon. I'm honored to be here this afternoon to show solidarity and support to the families of the 4 women that were senselessly murdered by an individual who I won't name. It's time that we had justice for our women, and in fact, at the conclusion of this trial, I expect nothing less than a guilty verdict for a monster that has terrorized our women for too long. And other monsters out there need to be given the same message, that if they disrespect and murder and throw our women in garbage dumps, there will be consequences for them. Justice. And as a leader with a community that has the highest number of missing and murdered women in the country, we expect and actually we demand justice for our women. And as far as searching the landfill, that's actually considered to me to be an investment in dignity and respect for our women. And it's time that we demonstrated that our women are human beings that need to be treated as such, and that leaving them in a garbage dump is not a testament of respect or dignity. So it's time that we as leaders as well need to stand up and demand justice for our women. And by being here this afternoon, that's exactly what I'm demonstrating, is that we need to demand that there's justice for our women. Nothing more and nothing less. Miigwech.
Thank you so much, Chief Fontaine. We have Grand Chief Garrison Settee from Manitoba Kiwatinawe Ogimakinak.
Tanse nitute maknitsanak anini wagumaga nituka pichiniminenta momegi bijan kenin. I'm honored to stand in solidarity with this family that has exemplified such courage under very, very tragic circumstances. I am thankful to the families that have stepped up and been a strong voice for their loved ones. I want to commend the Harris family, the Myron family, and the Contois family for not giving up on being the voice for their relatives. They've been a strong voice advocating for this injustice. They have never wavered in their commitment to seek justice for their fallen loved ones. And we stand with them because they have led the way. And I'm in a position this afternoon to be able to voice my disappointment in how our women have been treated in this society. This has been a dark chapter, a very dark chapter for Indigenous women. But I'm hoping that we can turn the page as the verdict is reached in the next little while, that the treatment of women in Manitoba society will change. It has been said, no more stolen sisters. No more murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls. But we need to mean that and exemplify that by reaching a just verdict for our people. We have to send a message to all of our societies that it is wrong to harm our women. It is wrong to murder our women, and it is especially wrong to throw them in landfills, because they are the life givers of our people. They are sacred, and we are pleading with the systems that represent this injustice. We have to send a strong message that people like this murderer that has hurt our women, that this is not accepted in this society. And as Chief Fontaine said, this is nothing less of a just verdict we're looking for. And I think this is an opportune time for tell our society that we are not going to accept this anymore. So I want to thank everybody for being here to support this family, because they have been through a lot. And I'm hoping for the beginning of a healing journey for them, and also to find closure for their families and for their loved ones. So I'm thankful that we're here today, and hopefully that in the next little while we're going to see justice for these women that we have lost. Christine,
good. Do you guys, are you comfortable answering some questions?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so we will open it up to some questions that might be from the media, and just to the families, remember you can decline, you don't have to answer, okay? Whatever you're comfortable.
No questions, we're good?
You've said it all.
Let's call it a day.
For Cambria, when did you hear, or when were you contacted about the meeting with the premier tomorrow?
That was Friday, right?
I got a message via text asking for our family to come in and have a meeting with the premier, have a lunch and do ceremony. I was at Sundance. I was a little like taken back by it, so I was like, oh, okay, here we go. I was kind of expecting this meeting to take place 6 weeks ago, right after the fact that that monster decided to plead guilty. So there was nothing that was going to interrupt the case. We could have had that meeting 6 weeks ago, and we could have already been starting this work now. But they reached out, so we're happy about that. We're hoping nothing less than a date as to when this work is going to start. So that's what we're demanding tomorrow when we sit down with him.
Have you received any more details about the surge or the feasibility and possibility?
You know what, there's been nothing. So the announcement where we sat here quite a while ago now, where the 20 million from each level of government was given to conduct the search, we've heard nothing since that day. No one has told us anything. Our understanding, it's supposed to be family-led, but there's been no communication. There's been zero. So we're hoping tomorrow when we're there, we're not hoping, we're actually demanding that we have a date in place. We are in the warm weather. This is when it needs to begin. My cousin needs to come home. It's been over 2 years. I don't even know why we're still sitting here anymore. You know, as we sat through that trial and we heard the dates of everything and all the evidence coming out, and it just painted that picture for us where we went, what were the police doing? You know, they were given Morgan's name in his confession. They knew she was missing. Why were things not stopped then? You know, I call out the police. They didn't do their job. And they continue to not do their job because we have women going missing every single day.
Have you received any reaction from the government on the reports that were submitted?
No, nothing. No. So they requested this operational report, which we did. It was family-led. We were all very much involved with it, with ISM Mesquite, and that's who we've asked to lead this search, because they're going to do it in a proper way, you know, where they're going to respect, you know, how things are going to be done, you know, versus city workers that are going to maybe go in there and do a half-ass job. So no, we've heard nothing. I think all they were doing at that point was just buying time. Yeah.
And the operational plan was quite detailed. And
Oh,
the
100%.
process
Everything.
and all that.
Everything.
And so you haven't heard that they're in favor of the idea or they support it?
Nothing. No. When he was asked about it, he said nothing. No. I know my husband put him on the spot in regards to, you know, are we going to go in the way that we thought we were going to go, right, with ISN? And there was no comment made.
Following up on something that Cambria said, you mentioned that you felt that the trial has gone some way to reversing the precedent set by previous government. I'm just wondering if you could expand on why you think that. How do you think this trial has changed?
Not necessarily government in the actual courtroom and that system when it comes to fighting these kinds of cases, as we saw from the defense's side. He so much as couldn't even acknowledge or say these women's names out loud, and everything was more of an interrogation as opposed to an acknowledgement of what had happened. And so, like, really what I mean by that is when I talked to the Crown Attorney, I said, initially back last year when Heather Stephenson made that decision not to search the landfill, it not only set a precedent for not searching in the future if any bodies ended up in there, but it set that precedent for how Indigenous women are treated in society going forward when it comes to these kinds of decisions being made, and in the judicial system as well. And so what I meant by that was when we go into these courtrooms and stuff, our Indigenous people are continuously used as a statistic over and over again. And we pull these numbers out of nowhere that are skewed at that have really no meaning to what's actually going on within our society. And so I appreciated that I didn't see any of that, and I saw rather their names being acknowledged and them being treated as actual human beings as opposed to a number and a statistic like the defense was doing and pulling. I remember one of our supporters after trial today, they caught him outside as he was doing before he did his interview. And they asked him, how do you sleep at night? And he said, I sleep very well. And that hurts. That really does hurt because it's disrespectful and it's very uncalled for even a defense lawyer to say that. On tragic situations at that. And so, I guess to say to that is I'm just feeling dud. I hope that answered it.
For the family, obviously, you have to wait till early July to see, if he is, found guilty on all these counts. Coming together as a community, how do you get through to July date? Obviously weighing on the mind to see what's going to happen, but how do you get to that point?
First off, were you sitting in the courtroom these last 6 weeks?
No, I was not.
Okay, well, we're going to get a guilty verdict.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not talking.
So I guess, like being said, there's no thought in your mind at all that this could go the other way at all?
It's absolute. It won't go the other way because I'll wait till Paige Sorry. Because from the very beginning, from the very second he made that interrogation video to his admittance, not once, twice, 3, but 4 times, and to his previous history, to not only his ex-wives, but to family members as well, he was guilty from the very beginning, and it's very clear that he has sick, sadistic, demented views, ideologies that he put forward and carried forward throughout the years not only cognitively, but at full mental capacity to be able to think about this and then carry these actions forward 4 times shows that he is criminally responsible. And to do it under the guise of God shows that he's cognitive enough to create such a lie and fabrication to pull that kind of act. Because any sane person who actually does follow God would know that thou shalt not kill as outlined in court. And all this expert testimony from his side, the YouTuber or whatever. Honestly, it's bullcrap. It's bullcrap, and it doesn't even deserve time of day. Pop psychologists are really, really dangerous because when you pull that schizophrenia in a courtroom, you're setting a dangerous precedent for people that actually suffer from schizophrenia, like my mother, Morgan Harris, who lived on those streets and suffered from that. I thought she had to hide from the demons in her head. She had to hide from monsters on the street that targeted her, that claimed to have schizophrenia. That's what it is. Thank you.
Sorry, I want Kira to have a chance to say some words here. This is Kira Harris, daughter of Morgan Harris.
So to add on to my sister's statement about Indigenous women being nothing but a statistic in the eyes of the defense. I recall earlier today at one of the interviews, the defendant, he seemed to really frustrate us. No, he did frustrate us. Because I recall him being asked a question, and he replied that Indigenous women, speaking specifically about them, of course, he said that a serial killing in Winnipeg is a rare occurrence, which made absolutely no sense, as Indigenous women are going missing every day. We are murdered, and we are in a genocide, essentially. So it's completely messed up. It made zero sense whatsoever. How can you say that there is not? How can you say that this is a rare occurrence when it's a thing that's happening every single day? It's sad that this is only being noticed now when there is a serial killing. We should be taking notice of this every single day. But the thing is, we're not. And personally, it's a messed up way to view Indigenous women as a whole. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Commit tomorrow to the search, give you a date. How long do you think you would wait before, I don't know, taking other action?
Very next day. If we don't get an answer tomorrow, you could be sure as hell that we're going to be protesting for search and landfill, and we're going to be pushing for more actions, and we're going to be doing even bigger actions. We're going to start using your own government against you, and we're going to be trying to push really hard, not only through letters, we'll be writing more municipalities again, and we'll be doing this same process again until we actually get somewhere, because then at least we can say we made the effort and that they did not.
Good job, family.
I want to reiterate, I wasn't yelling at anybody. Sorry.
I guess if we come across like that at times, you have to understand our frustration, right? Like, how many times have we sat up here? How many times have we sat in meetings? It's just, at this point, like we've said many times, let us go in then, because we're done waiting. Things are going to start happening if it doesn't happen now. So that's where we're at with things. We're just beyond frustrated. I look at my 3 nieces here, and let's remember, that's their mom. Their mom is laying in a landfill. And on Mother's Day, Cammie had to go to Prairie Green and put flowers on a fence at a landfill for her mother. How is that okay? So they have not done any grieving, because since we've been told the news, we've been fighting everyone to get their mom's remains home so we can lay her to rest properly. So I'm just, I feel for them. I feel for my entire family. This is not something we ever should have had to have gone through. The work should have been done properly. operations could have been halted, and we wouldn't be sitting here 2 years later. You know, if anything, 2 years later, we could be consoling them as they grieve the loss of their mother. So that's our frustration. We're good.
Grandma's gonna do a closing prayer for us. Yeah, is that okay?